Start a video. Mark and Sarah weren't just married. They were the couple everyone looked up to. High school sweethearts who'd built a life together, brick by brick. They had the charming house with the white picket fence, two wonderful kids, and a bond that seemed unbreakable. For 15 years, Mark believed he was the luckiest man alive. He loved Sarah with a quiet, steady devotion, the kind that weathers storms and deepens with time. He was a good husband and a great father, always putting his family first. But lately a subtle chill had crept into their home, a distance he couldn't quite put his finger on. It started with small things. Sarah, who once shared every detail of her day, became vague. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, was now always with her, screen down. She started working late, citing new projects at her marketing firm. "It's a big opportunity, Mark," she'd say, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. He wanted to believe her. He really did. But a seed of doubt had been planted, and it was starting to grow, fed by unanswered calls and last-minute fun and girls' nights that seemed to happen more and more frequently. The warmth that had been the cornerstone of their marriage was slowly being replaced by a polite, almost formal distance. The tipping point came on a Tuesday. Mark had left work early to surprise Sarah, planning to take her to the little Italian place where he'd proposed. He walked into the house, flowers in hand, calling her name. Silence. He checked her location on their family app, a feature they used for safety, and his heart sank. She wasn't at her office. She was at a hotel on the other side of town. The bouquet slipped from his hand, petals scattering across the floor like the pieces of his shattered trust. In that moment, a storm of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak raged inside him. He wanted to scream, to drive to that hotel, to confront her. But then, as he stood there amidst the wreckage of his perfect evening, a strange and powerful calm washed over him. He knew that rage would solve nothing. It would only destroy what little was left. He took a deep breath. He would not let her lies and his anger dictate his next move. His calm would be his shield, and his clarity would be his sword. He cleaned up the flowers, his movements deliberate and steady. When Sarah came home hours later, humming a tune, he was sitting on the sofa, waiting. "Oh, you're home early," she said, startled. "Long day." He simply looked at her and said, "We need to talk, Sarah." The look in his eyes wasn't accusatory or furious. It was something far more unsettling for her. It was calm and clear. He asked her where she'd been. The lies started immediately. A late meeting, a client dinner, traffic. She was a good liar, practiced and convincing. But Mark wasn't listening to the words anymore. He was watching her, seeing the slight tremor in her hands, the way she avoided his gaze. He let her spin her web of deceit, not interrupting, just nodding slowly. "I see," he said softly when she finished. The quietness of his response was more deafening than any shout could have been. He didn't accuse. He didn't present his evidence. He simply created a space filled with her lies and let her sit in it. The next few days were a masterclass in quiet control. Mark was present, kind to the kids, and unfailingly polite to Sarah. But the emotional connection was gone. He was a ghost in his own home. His calmness was a mirror, and in it, Sarah could only see the reflection of her own betrayal. She started to unravel. She'd try to pick fights, to provoke a reaction, anything to break the unnerving tranquility. "Why are you being so quiet? Just yell at me and get it over with," she'd plead. But Mark wouldn't give her the satisfaction of a fight. He'd simply reply, "There's nothing to yell about. I'm just thinking." His strategy was simple, yet devastating. By refusing to engage in the drama, he took away her power. Her affair was a secret that thrived in the shadows, but his calm was like a spotlight, slowly and methodically exposing the truth without a single angry word. He started making subtle changes. He met with a financial advisor, quietly sorting out their assets. He spoke with a lawyer, understanding his rights and options, not for a war, but for a peaceful resolution. He was preparing for the future, with or without her. Sarah saw these small, deliberate actions, and the panic set in. She was losing him, not to a fiery explosion, but to a slow, quiet drift. He was becoming independent of her, emotionally and practically. The confession, when it came, wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was a whimper. One evening, she found him in the garage, methodically organizing his tools. She broke down, tears streaming down her face, and admitted everything. The affair, the lies, the guilt. She expected him to finally explode, to unleash the anger he must have been holding back. But he didn't. He simply stopped what he was doing, turned to her, and said, "I know, Sarah. I've known for a while." His calm wasn't an act anymore. It was his reality. He had already processed the anger and the grief on his own terms. He had mourned the end of his marriage in the quiet moments, and what was left was a man who was sad, but whole. He explained that his silence wasn't about punishing her. It was about protecting himself and their children from a messy, destructive fallout. It was about choosing dignity over drama. He had already decided that their marriage was over, not out of revenge, but because the trust, the very foundation of their life together, was gone. His calm had given him the clarity to see that. It allowed him to plan a separation that prioritized the children's well-being, avoiding the bitter custody battles and emotional warfare that so often accompany divorce. He was in control, not of her, but of himself and his future. In the end, Mark's greatest weapon wasn't anger or revenge. It was his unshakable calm. It allowed him to navigate the most painful betrayal of his life with grace and strength. He showed that sometimes the most powerful response is not a loud bang, but a quiet, steady resolve. He protected his heart, secured his future, and most importantly, showed his children what true strength and dignity look like in the face of adversity. He lost a wife, but he found himself, and in that, he won a victory far more meaningful than any argument he could have ever had. He walked away from the wreckage not as a victim, but as the calm and composed architect of his new life. Thank you so much for watching. It's a powerful reminder that in life's most difficult storms, our own inner peace can be our greatest strength. If you found this story meaningful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.